And welcome back to the Constitutionals Podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it is a website. Go there, episode 219 whatever numbers I choose. This is a very special interview I've previously had with Ms. Elizabeth Alderfer. I do believe she's married. I don't know if that's her maiden name. None of my business. Elizabeth Alderfer is an actress, and you can see her on AP Bio, as well as the CBS comedy series, multi-camera sitcom, created by Chuck Lorre, mega trillionaire himself. The show's called United States of Al. And that show actually returns the day that you are listening to this, October 7th on CBS. They're in the primetime slot. AP Bio's fourth season is currently out on Peacock. Was an NBC show, then it was canceled and brought over to Peacock. It's a great show. Actually, both are really enjoyable shows. I watched a couple episodes of United States of Al in order to get ready for this interview. And true to, and I mentioned this in the interview, 10 years ago, this show probably would not have been made on CBS, let alone on broadcast television. But it's funny, also thought provoking, mostly because of the subject matter surrounding the show. It is about a Marine combat veteran played by Parker Young, who is adjusting to civilian life in Ohio after his tour is finished, or tours, I don't know. And he manages to bring his friend, who is a interpreter from Afghanistan, who was his interpreter in Afghanistan, bring him back to America to live with him and spend time with his family. And then part of that goal is throughout the show is to bring the rest of, and Adhir Kalbian plays the interpreter. Part of that goal, the goal of the series is to bring his family from Afghanistan to America, to Ohio. And like I said, thought-provoking show because it does cover a lot of things that are happening, things that are real. It's not the typical I'm a guy, lovelorn guy, and I'm in love with this girl, and we don't fit, and we get into wacky situations, and we have friends and stuff. Like this is a story that I don't think has been told before in multicam format, to say that, the least of it. But Elizabeth is in the show. Let's get back to her. She's in the show playing Parker Young's sister, and she has in the show lost her own fiance in Afghanistan, and she's going through some things, but she's often the comic relief. To be the comic relief in a multicam sitcom, that's just you get all the bigger jokes compared to everybody else. You're working harder. Elizabeth's character is really good, and it's also she's also playing a different character from I believe her character's name on AP Bio is named Lynette. I was gonna say Lynn, but Lynette is a little bit more grounded than Lizzie, even though AP Bio is more of an out there, a wackier show compared to Al. But isn't it strange? And they're both funny characters, both great shows. I'm a fan of AP Bio, huge fan of AP Bio. But Elizabeth is a very talented person. I really enjoyed our talk. We chatted about hummingbirds before we started the conversation. But she's also just a nice, genuine person. And she gave me a lot of good answers. And that's all I can ask. How long have I talked for? Okay. That's long enough. Thank you for listening to this. I appreciate it. You can check out Elizabeth on Instagram at Liz, Derfer. Yes, Liz Derfer. You can also watch Peacock. Season 4 out now on Peacock. Excuse me. You can watch AP Bio. I should redo it, but I'm not going to. Watch AP Bio season 4 out now on Peacock, along with seasons 1 through 3. Great show. Check out United States of Al. I was going to say United States of Al, but that doesn't make sense. United States of Al. Although United States of Al could be a show about Chuck Lorre spinoff. United State of Al web series following Al as he's just exploring Ohio by himself. I'm just saying, CBS, if you want to put that on Paramount Plus, I will produce it. United States of Al premieres October 7th. Second season, 8:30 p.m. They actually redid the season opener to deal with the Afghani crisis. And if you don't know how TV is made, that took a lot of time and effort to do at the very last minute. And, knowing Chuck Lorre and his work ethic, I'm sure it was done in utmost quality. So enjoy. Great shows. Check it out. Okay. Oh, you can follow us. If you want to see a video version of the interview, head to youtube.com/CPlusComedy, where you can see Liz and I talking to each other over video chat. You can head to cpluscomedy.com, where you can see other interviews. You can see our premiere news show, News Time, our premiere show, News Time, on youtube.com/CPlusComedy, where I take one topic and I dissect it into little tiny bits. Instagram, Twitter, @CPlusComedy. Me on those same platforms at Chad Black White. Like us on Facebook. Rate, review, subscribe to this show. Tell your friends about it. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Here we go. Well, thank you. I appreciate you for sitting down and talking to me. I've been a huge fan since I saw you on AP Bio, so it's great to finally to meet somebody from that show.
Oh, it's so fun to sit and chat for sure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's well, I guess we'll start there. AP Bio coming, it's on Peacock, and now we're in the third season, and
Fourth,
fourth.
believe it or not.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And now this season's it's as weird as it's weirder than it was when it was on NBC.
Definitely.
Doing, especially seeing you in that alien makeup. Oh my gosh, such a trippy episode. What a great episode too.
I know. And that episode actually was supposed to be, I think, episode 8 or 9 of season 3. But then we got shut down because of the pandemic. And in a way, I think it kind of worked out almost for the better, because it's such a great season opener. Bam, here we are, new season, whole new, you're right, vibe. They're just Mike O'Brien's getting weirder and taking bigger and bigger risks, and it's incredible to watch that show kind of evolve into what it is today.
Right, and I've noticed this, especially when you first popped up. Your character is one of the more grounded people in the show, as opposed to everyone's got it Glenn's character has vendetta, and then Patton's character just wants to be friends with everybody. Paula's character is people, everybody's got something, and then you are the one that's kind of keeping the school centered. And you're actually probably the coolest person there, because you're just this cool teacher that everybody seems to enjoy and have in the school.
Yeah, definitely. Lynette is she's definitely an absolute weirdo, but somehow is less weird than everybody else. And I love how that character always has that kind of twinkle of knowledge in her eye. Like you said, everybody else is just crazy and antics, and they have all of these very obvious hang-ups and insecurities, and Lynette is just I don't know, guys, it doesn't have to be that hard. Let's just eat a sandwich and relax. And yeah, I like that juxtaposition of her with Glenn's character, because Jack is such a kind of ego maniac, but secretly, or not so secretly, desperate for affection and for acceptance. And I think she brings that out of him in a really interesting way.
And then comparing her to your character on United States of Al, which I watched. I'd never seen that, and I grew interested because I knew that you all threw out an episode essentially, and did one about the Afghan refugee crisis, which is like, you hear shows do this all the time. Like I think Law and Order SVU, when that came back, they said we're going to do an entire episode about Black Lives Matter and stop AAPI hate and all that stuff, and that
Yeah.
makes me a lot more fascinated. So kudos to you and the team and everybody over there. That's a very big step to take, especially for a freshman series. We'll go into a sophomore year.
Yeah, I'm unbelievably proud of the all of the writers, not only because I think from the time that we started to hear news out of Afghanistan that the Taliban was taking over very, very quickly, to them getting the footage into the editing room was less than a month.
Right.
And anybody who knows anything about writing for television, I mean, it's an involved process and it takes some time. And they not only rewrote our season premiere, which will be going up October 7th, but they were also a war room, actually on the phone with Marines at the airport, trying to evacuate friends and family, trying to get in touch with anybody they could possibly know who could help their loved ones. So going through that and also inserting that into the script, I'm just floored and in awe of their work. And we're all so proud of the episode. It's going to be very different, but yeah, addressing head on what our show is about, which is these Afghan interpreters and what we promised them, and that we should keep that promise. So I'm excited for everybody to see it, to say the least.
Yeah, I think people should watch Al, and also AP Bio obviously, but I think Al is it's a show that I think CBS would have made 6 years ago, when they were not diverse, and when they were really aiming towards middle America. But now they're casting their shows with 50% people of color, and or diverse casting, and then 25% of the people behind the scenes have to be people of color. But Al in particular stands out to me because it's a comedic, it's a sitcom, multicam, but it is steeped in with dramatic sensibility, and it kind of hits you. You have 20 minutes now on broadcast.
Yeah.
It hits you like immediately, and Parker Young's character talking about how he doesn't want to talk about his wife, and then seeing his wife and them, like, she's mad almost immediately when she's sitting there talking to Adhere's character. And then
Yeah.
when you are like, your character says, hey, you guys want to go out? I'll see you in the morning. And then he says she's not going to come back in the morning. And then hearing your backstory, it's tough to hear, but that's the real stuff that comes from people who have experienced this. And I think it's there's a lot of stories that can be told through that show.
Yeah, it's absolutely rich with ways in which they can take all of the storylines. Like you said, everybody's touched by conflict and war. I mean, everybody knows somebody, everybody has their own unique experience with it, and they aren't stories that are told very often. And if they are, I think that particularly veterans, I think that there's kind of this narrow sort of depiction of veterans a lot on TV. So, we're excited to get into the more of the nuance of those stories. And also, we are a comedy. We are. I explain this show to people and they're so confused. Like, wait, but it's a comedy
Right.
with a laugh track by Chuck Lorre? Wait, what? Big Bang Theory? I don't understand. And I love that because it is, there's a lot of gravity to the the subjects that we're talking about, but there is also a lot of lightness and a lot of stuff to be mined from that. And um, yeah, there's so much to explore, and I'm excited for season 2 because we do get the full 22 episode season this year to really explore and dive into all of that stuff.
So not only is that a full paycheck, but it's guaranteed work. I mean, it's great. What do you working on a single cam like AP Bio and then doing multicam? Is it hard to switch back and forth? Or yeah, I mean, multicam is I think 5 days a week still.
Mhm.
Is it difficult to go from a play like atmosphere with a multicam and then having to go to the single camera setup and where you basically have a lot more time to fill out scenes?
Yeah, with the multi, I mean, it's so much more like theater. We have right now 2 full days of rehearsal, which is such a luxury in film and television, to be able to kind of collaborate on, well, would it be funny if we did this? Let's try it. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try something else. Whereas with single camera, you don't have that kind of time. So much more time is spent with the setup and the location and all of that. So you kind of figure it out as the cameras are rolling. Um, so we have the luxury of that kind of process ahead of time. And then under normal circumstances, when there isn't a worldwide pandemic, we get to do that in front of a live audience. And that's the cool part about sitcoms with a laugh track. The audience is the last collaborator. You know, they are the final line in terms of what is funny and what is not,
Mhm.
because you can find something hilarious all week in rehearsal, but if they don't laugh, it's getting rewritten. and and that process is really, really fun.
It's and also something I noticed about Al having banked all these episodes is that it's it's the rare, it's the new, like sitcoms used to be, or multicams, the audience is right there, and like you said, we have this pandemic to contend with, but now I think since the introduction of shows like How I Met Your Mother, where they go out into streets and stuff, there's I
Yeah.
call it like a fourth wall multicam sitcom because I especially in the pilot, when Dean Norris sits down, usually it's not blocks like that. It doesn't have one character at each corner. It's usually all the characters
Yeah.
are sitting on one side. So it was very cool
Yes.
to see him sit down and block a camera and then a wall go behind him. I really enjoyed that, and it
Yeah.
really opens up the breathing room of the show.
Yeah, it's very interesting to, you don't realize how much you understand about what you're used to seeing until that fourth wall goes in and you're like, wait a minute, I feel like this is naughty. I'm not supposed to see that, what the rest of their house looks like. You never see what the rest of the diner looks like in Seinfeld or whatever. But yeah, we are able to kind of creatively contend with those things and say, look, why not? And actually, in season 2, I'm really excited that, I guess the Dugan family got a little bit of an extension on their house because that kitchen gets a little bit more room and a window, and we're like, oh, good. I'm glad we have more space to really, push out that chair. Um, but yeah, the fourth wallness of it is breaking down, and I think that the form is changing, just like everything else. It's evolving, and being able to make it without that audience with a little more time to shoot more footage. It's a different beast, but it's still really really interesting to work in that way.
And then I also wanted to know about Disjointed, and since that was on Netflix, and I think that was touted as I make a lot of quips at Netflix because they seem like to just throw a bunch of paint at the wall and see what sticks and what doesn't. But
Yeah.
Disjointed, just like The Farm or whatever that show was called with Ashton Kutcher, it was heavily touted because it was a multicam sitcom, and they really put like their energy behind it and faith behind it, and you guys got a decent amount of episodes. What was working
Hmm.
on that show like, and now and since those came before AP Bio, the regular, AP Bio in United States of Al. What was that
Yeah.
that experience going into these newer shows, and what'd you take from that?
Well, it was definitely a giant learning experience for me personally because I had never done a a multicam sitcom before. I'd never worked in that way. I'd always done like hour dramas when I lived in New York. That always involved me being shot or raped or just something terrible. And then I booked Disjointed and it was like pot jokes. That's my life now. Great, I'm in. I'm totally in. Um, and yeah, it was kind of being dropped into the center of kind of like an all-star game already in process because we had, I mean, Kathy Bates, Tone Bell, Chris Red, Betsy Sidara, like all of these insanely funny, insanely talented people. Um, and the collaboration of Chuck Lorre, who is, this very, very successful um, multicam producer, and David Javerbaum, who came from the world of The Daily Show and a little bit more of that like short form sketch kind of format. I think merged into this kind of beautiful baby of like of this new art form that I don't think anything is like Disjointed. There's nothing like it. And it kind of felt disjointed at times. And I liked how it kind of lived in the middle of those two kind of voices. So yeah, it was so much fun, and I'm so sad that we couldn't make more, but it that really prepped me for being able to work more in comedy. And uh, I guess I'm a funny comedy actress now. It's kind of strange how, the industry starts to kind of tell you who you are or show you who you are more. Um, and that was probably the beginning of my love affair with comedy.
Mm-hmm. Do you think you would ever go back to drama, trying to not trying to be a drama actress? That sounds reductive, but do you think that
We're all dramatic.
you're right? Exactly. Hey, there you go. Do you think that you have space for that within your acting prowess again?
Oh, definitely. I love drama. I think that that's what I always assumed I would do. I went to drama school at NYU and I thought that I would do Shakespeare and, indie, films and stuff like that. Um and then I, started making poop jokes on TV, and it's just, you just never know. You just never know what's going to happen. But life is long, careers are so varied these days. I mean, it's not like it used to be where if you were on a sitcom, that was kind of your lane and that's what you did for your entire career. People go back and forth and do all kinds of different things. And I'm definitely excited to switch it up.
Yeah, it's people do go back and forth. Like in the early 2000s, it was unheard of a movie star to do a TV show. Now movies, they're like at the Emmys this past week, you just saw so many A-list people there that have done a bunch of big blockbusters. And at some point,
Yeah.
I'm thinking this is unfair. Like these comedic actors, these people that are on TV have worked to be here, and you're just like, oh, maybe I'll do a Netflix limited series. It's but it's
Seriously.
that, I think that does open up the door for people like you to jump into that big film space as well, because it seems to be a little bit more fluid now.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. I had to laugh too, and when Kate Winslet won and she acted all surprised, like she was like, "What? No!" Like, you're literally Kate Winslet. Oh my gosh, how are you still humble?
and
I'm
then
so glad she's humble.
and then that show comes back for a second season. Like, come on, man, it's not fair.
Yeah, it's not, but it is also, like you said, it's the breakdown of the forms and the rules. I think is ultimately good for storytelling because if you have a great story to tell, Um, I feel like you don't have to be so worried about like, well, which form will get me the most traction, because who knows, you could do a limited series, you could do a podcast, you could do a film, and if it's good and if it's correct for the story, people will see it and people will be excited about it.
Yeah, that reminds me of Glenn also went to a good school like you, and he's a well trained actor. And speaking of telling stories, he made Coffee Town, like a straight to DVD movie, and I think about that movie
Mm-hmm.
constantly because I watch Sunny constantly, and like in that year he took off to do AP Bio,
Mm-hmm.
and see, to test the waters in a different area, and then also Caitlin Olsen, his showmate, castmate on that show, also
Yeah.
doing the Mick. So I mean, yeah. So you are, with your training, you could always, yeah, have that next project on deck. Maybe if you want to do a play. I don't know if you wanted to do the theater fully. I know
I
you
would
said
love
you
to do
want to
the
step in.
theater.
Okay. Okay, well, tell me, like, what's your theater
Absolutely.
experience like?
My theater experience uh, is very downtown devised, kind of some of it quite avant-garde, actually, um, and deeply fun. I mean, out of college, I worked a lot with a theater collective called Fresh Ground Pepper that was started and is continued to be run by some of my best buddies. And the whole idea of it was to create a space where people could try things out, and it was safe, and there was no like, is this good? Is this art? There was none of that. It was just like, here's a prompt, come and make something, and then whatever you learn from it is up to you. So a lot of work started in that kind of incubator, and we did the Fringe Festival a lot, and we did a lot of uh, you know downtown theater, like festival type things. Um, and none of it ended up, I think, sticking in the way that we would have liked, but it was all really cool and experimental. Um, so that's a lot of what I did, and that really lent itself, frankly, to the comedy thing. So when I was auditioning for commercials and for ultimately Disjointed, that moved me out here, I was using a lot of that, kind of think on your feet. What is the strange choice? What is the unexpected choice that would get a rise out of a kind of downtown theater audience? But yeah, I love theater. I'm so excited to see it back. That's so heartening to see, and I hope it continues to thrive.
Is there a show that you're looking forward to seeing?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I don't even know what's coming out. A dear friend of mine from college is actually in Diana the Musical, so I
Oh,
have to plug
really?
that. If you're in New York, go see Diana the Musical, and Ro Hartramp is great as Prince Charles. Um,
Okay, I want to
and
see.
it's
Go on.
well, I was just gonna say it's kind of cool. You can actually see it on Netflix soon. That's starting to happen. I think Hamilton kind of maybe was the first in the pandemic to put out a filmed version of it. And I think Come From Away is also available to see. Theater is best, obviously, in person in a theater with them live, but I'm also glad that it's more accessible as well.
I know Bruce Springsteen on Broadway is on Netflix, but I am determined to make my way to New York to watch him do it live. Determined.
Yes.
Ugh.
Yes. The father of New Jersey. I don't know if you follow New Jersey on Twitter, but they
No.
I think today is his birthday, and they said happy birthday, Dad, and that just gave me a huge chuckle.
I love Bruce. I love Bruce. Well, Elizabeth, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I thank you. I just want to thank you so much for doing this. Your character on AP Bio, and now I'm a fan of United States of Val. It's truly great to see somebody very funny and to talk to them as well, and to see them flourish and grow as a blossoming comedic actor.
Blossoming. Wow, I'll take that. Thank you so much. This was so fun. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course.